Alrighty, I'm going to share my screen and then start a PowerPoint. So the format of this training is the first part I'll do a PowerPoint to kind of introduce you to OneDrive, and then we'll do a demonstration. And then after that, as time allows, we'll have a question and answer. So, but if I get to a particular subject during the training or during the talk, and I'm just not clear on what I'm saying, go ahead and interrupt me and ask me. But then at the end, if you have additional questions, I'll leave time for a Q&A. So this is part of the this is how you do IT, or this is how you do it training. Again, my name is Greg Kelly, and I've been with the university for quite a while. I was at the College of Vet Medicine for 36 years, and now, starting in June, I went full-time as a consulting trainer for the University of Missouri in Columbia. So let's, the Teams toolbar, if you're not familiar with this Teams meetings, at the top, there's a place that you can chat, you can ask questions, you can place them in the chat. There's also a reactions, or you can raise your hand by using that icon. Also device options. So if you have trouble hearing me, like if you're going from a headset maybe to a soundbar on your monitor, you can change your device options with the, I call it the ellipsis. It's the 3 dots, and you'll see that a lot with M365 products. Anytime you see 3 dots, there's more options. And of course, you can turn off and on your video and audio by selecting the appropriate icon. And at the end of the training, of course, we'll leave the meeting. So today we're going to talk about, this is OneDrive training. So we utilize OneDrive. Let me get this other screen off that window. We utilize OneDrive when we have mostly more than one, maybe one computer. Let's say at work you have a laptop and an office computer, both a desktop computer, and you want to have data on all your devices, but you want it synchronized so you can get the same look and feel no matter what computer you're on. Okay. So we want to be able to save data either on the desktop, you know, what you see on your screen, your documents and your pictures, and you usually save data in one of those 3 locations on your both of your computers. So what the ideal situation is to combine and synchronize that desktop data, documents and pictures, and save it and have it synchronized across multiple devices. Even on you access your data maybe from a mobile device, your phone or your tablets. So not only your local data, but a lot of departments have a private drive or a shared drive on their network server. So we want to put all that in a central location so we can have it all synchronized and easily accessible. So the solution is the Microsoft OneDrive. So you could think of OneDrive as your individual drive. So it's your secure private drive, and nobody has access to it by default unless you share access. So it comes as a private drive. So OneDrive is included with Windows 10, and we'll look at that. You could also download it or also get access to OneDrive by going to OneDrive.com, and they have the application for both Windows and Mac, and you can go out to your app stores for your mobile devices and download it for free. So some of the benefits of OneDrive: it securely synchronizes your data to a central location. So it is secure and is centralized, and you can get to your data. You get 5 terabytes of storage. So to put that in perspective, a lot of maybe the average desktop computer in your office might have 500 gig, which is half a terabyte. So you get 10 times the storage on OneDrive than what you have on your local machine. And we'll talk about how that works when you're trying to synchronize. You know, people might say, well, how can I synchronize that much data, 10 times as much on my local machine? And I'll show you that. Again, you can access your data from any computer, web browser by going to office.com or OneDrive.com, either one, or any mobile device. No VPN needed. So this is a good thing, because if it's on a network shared or on your office computer and you need to get to it from a remote location, like from your home or if you're traveling, we used to have the VPN, the Cisco AnyConnect. But now with OneDrive, you don't need that. You can simply go to OneDrive.com. You can also, as we'll see, you can collaborate on the same document at the same time. So, usually if you stored an Excel document on a network share, if somebody was in it, you had to ask them to get out of the document so you could get in there and work on it. Well, with OneDrive, you can both be in the document at the same time, typing and collaborating. User control sharing, you control who you share it with. You no longer have to go to an IT person and say, hey, I'd like to share this with somebody, or send it out an email. That's an insecure way of doing it. Here you can do it securely by, we'll show you how to do it, but you can control who gets access to your files. Version history. So you could go back previous versions within OneDrive, or even within a document, say within a Word or Excel, and I'll show you that. Since you can collaborate on the same document at the same time, you can also go back to previous versions of that document. And recover deleted files or hacked files. So there's a virus. So let's say first you might have deleted a file, you need to get it back. You can easily do that, kind of like the trash maybe on your desktop computer. You can recover that, but also hack files. So there's some viruses out there that might change file names. We've happened this to us before on the network. So you don't have to wait for, again, an IT or person or somebody to go back and get your files back. You can go back up to 30 days and recover all your OneDrive files that has been changed or attacked. Okay, so during the installation, so when you first set up OneDrive, you'll see an option to back up your desktop documents and pictures. And when it says backup, what it actually does is moves the data to the cloud, we'll see, and then it synchronizes it back. So I'll show you what it's going to look like, but you have an option with the radio buttons to select desktop documents and pictures. Now, I know some departments have a policy in place that maybe you can only back up your desktop and they're going to control documents and pictures, but I think there's a plan in place that they're going to get that removed, that policy removed, so you all can back up all the desktop documents and pictures. So that varies by department, and we'll see what your department has when we get into the demo. So again, during that setup of OneDrive, you'll get that option. But what we encourage you to do during the setup is go ahead and, if these are checked, to go ahead and deselect that option. And that's because we want you to run the backup at the end of the day, because if depending on how much data you have, it might take a while to copy that to the cloud, because all the cloud is a Microsoft server and data warehouses across the country. So to get that through the internet to the cloud might take a while. So we suggest doing that at the end of the day, because it might take an hour or two depending on how much data you have, and we don't want to slow you down from your work. The other reason to deselect it is we want to make sure that your desktop icons are organized and cleaned up, because what it does, it'll place your data in the cloud in a folder called Desktop Documents and Pictures, and it's in the common desktop. So if you had, say, 30 icons on your laptop computer and a different, say, 40 on your desktop computer, which is not uncommon as we've seen, when it does a backup, now you'll have 70 on both, because it'll combine that storage. It'll combine the results of those two. So also, if you have, here it says Dane request. If I have the same file on both machines, the first one that gets backed up will say Dane request, and the second one, if it has the same name, it'll say Dane request copy. And so then you'll determine which one you want to keep, and then once you have that organized, then you'll have the most recent version on all your systems. But initially, you want to make sure that that's kind of cleaned up. So I'll just give you kind of a visual what happens during a backup or a sync to OneDrive. What it does, as I mentioned, it'll take all your computers. If I run backup on both of these, say I select backup, it'll take the data to the cloud and it synchronizes it, and it puts the results on both computers. So now I have the data from this machine and data this machine in the cloud, and then it puts the results on both. It also puts a status symbol, and we'll see that as well later, on both computers. So this green check mark means that this data came from this computer. And the one with the cloud status means it's available in the cloud, so I can get to it as long as I'm connected to the internet, but it came from another location. In this case, it came from my office computer. And then on the office computer, it'll look the same. I mean, just the opposite effect. This one came from the office computer, and this one, in this case, came from the laptop. Okay. So this is success. This is the ideal setup. We want all our data in the cloud, synchronized to both devices so we can get to the data from anywhere. So let me just touch while I'm in this PowerPoint presentation on this status. So the cloud status means it's only available in the cloud. So when you're online, when you have internet connection, you can get to it. So if I'm traveling in a car and I don't have internet or on a plane, I cannot get to this data. I have to have internet connection. But again, it's not taking up space on my computer because it's in the cloud only. The green check mark means that it's available on this device. And of course, it's always in the cloud. So in this case, I could be traveling without internet connection and I can still get to my files. And then when I have, let's say that I don't have internet, I'm in a car traveling without internet, I can make changes to these files or any file. And then when I connect back to the internet, it'll sync it for me. It automatically syncs. I don't have to select any kind of sync button or anything like that. It just automatically starts syncing. And then the final status you'll see is a dark green circle with a white check mark. And this means it's always available on this device, of course, in the cloud. So it works a lot like available on the device, but this is always available. And the difference in those two is with Windows 10, there's a storage sense. And I talked about earlier, you get 5 terabytes, so you get a lot of storage and not your hard drive is not that big. So what Storage Sense does, you can say, okay, if my hard drive gets down to say 5% capacity, so if I get down to maybe 250 meg is 5% of 500 gig. If I get down to that quota, if it has this status, it will start moving things back to the cloud for you automatically, saying the oldest file that you haven't used, go ahead and move that back to the cloud to help free up space for me until you get above that quota. If it's always on this device, that means you have to manually do it yourself. So it's no longer doing it automatically. And I'll show you how to do that. So let's say that I have a folder that I need to work on, like I'm going to a conference. I want to make sure that I have this folder available for me when I'm traveling. And regardless whether or not I have internet, I might want to set that to always available because I want to make sure that I have that file available for me. Okay, so I'll show that as we go in. Does anybody have any questions about that while we're here? Okay. All right, so we'll go ahead and jump into this demo of OneDrive. Now, the easiest way, if you have a Windows machine, to see if you have OneDrive running, this file browser, this little manila folder is the file, I said browser, file explorer. I'm going to go ahead and open that up. So you should see an icon. This is where it typically has your drive letters in this PC, but you should have an icon that says OneDrive, University of Missouri. If it just says OneDrive, then that's a personal OneDrive. It's not the University of Missouri. So you want to make sure that you have a OneDrive, University of Missouri, and I'll expand that. You can see I have a lot in here. I'm backing up my desktop, my documents, and then my pictures. And then I have a lot of other things. Also, while I'm in here, let me just mention your migrated box files. So if you had box before, the university is migrating files for you, you'll find those under the migrated box files folder here. Another place that you should see if you have OneDrive University of Missouri is down at the bottom on your taskbar on the right near your clock. You might see a blue cloud here, or if you have a busy taskbar like I do, you'll see an up arrow, an up caret. If I click on that, I'll see a blue cloud right here. Mine has a circle with arrow. That means it's processing some changes, so you can see that it's syncing. So if I right click on that, I'll get these things here. And if there's some issues, because I was doing a lot of things before the training, it'll give you status here on what the issue might be. Okay. And here I can also, one of the things I'll do in my File Explorer is my settings. But if I right click here, I can see my settings. I can also go to OneDrive online from here. But I'm going to do all that from somewhere else. But just know that you should have a blue cloud. If it says just OneDrive, and let me just show you this. If you don't have OneDrive University of Missouri, but you have a OneDrive, or if it's grayed out, you'll want to go ahead and click on that and log in with your university credentials, which will be your username at umsystem.edu. Okay, so I'm going to right click here for now, and I'm going to go to settings. Okay, and I can do the same thing from here. I can click on I can select my OneDrive University of Missouri here, right click and go to settings or view online here as well. So again, I'm going to click on settings and I'll get the same results. So here, if you don't see OneDrive University of Missouri with your username at umsystem, you can always add an account. And this will be the same thing you'll see when you first set up OneDrive. So let's say you don't see any of this stuff. What you would have to do with Windows 10, I would want to come down here to the bottom left to your start menu and just start typing in OneDrive, ONEDRIV. So it'll pop up. Now the reason this won't work for me is because I already have it set up. But if I did select this, what it would do is pop up like this to set up OneDrive. And again, you would want to type in your username at umsystem.edu and sign in. And then it'll go through this setup process. And again, if you get to the point about backing it up, make sure you deselect that for now, and then I'll show you how to back up that later. Okay, so I'll pause here. Does anybody not have, let me cancel this. I'm trying to open up my window here. There we go. Does anybody not have OneDrive on their, either here or on their taskbar? Okay, hopefully everybody has. And if not, reach out to me at the MUDoIT training at Missouri.edu and I'll assist you with that. Okay. All right, so let me go back to that settings where I was at. I'm gonna right click here, settings. So here again is my name at username at umsystem.edu. Also, if you start like me, I've been using OneDrive for a while, but you start to see, you start getting low. You're like, what is using all my storage on OneDrive? From this account, there's an option here that says manage my storage. What that'll do is take you out to the cloud, because everything, of course, is out on the cloud. It'll have you sign in with your username at umsystem, and here it'll show you, this is my storage metrics, and it'll say under your documents file, you're using most of my storage here, but it'll break it down by folder on what's using your storage, and it'll show you how much I have free. I still have 4.5 terabytes, so I have a lot of storage there. But if these are also links, so I could dig deeper into a folder and it'll break it down for me on what's using my storage. So again, you can do that with this managed storage. The other thing I want to show you in this settings, so let's say you've got your data all ready to back up, like you got your desktop cleaned up and you're ready to back up. You'll come back to the settings and the next tab over says backup. And it sounds like backup, but again, it moves it there and it syncs it down for you. So here is an option to manage backup. And you can choose which folders you want to back up. Mine says stop backup because I'm already backing it up. But if you haven't started that yet, you should see radio buttons here that you can select and say start backup. And again, depending on your department, maybe you've already got your desktop backing up and you're not, these are grayed out. I see this at the, I think, School of Health or the hospital. They have a policy that they're looking at hopefully changing so you all can back up your data and get to it from anywhere. Okay, so if you see that, that's what's going on. Okay. All right, so now we should have, once that's all done, you should have OneDrive set up and it's backing up for you. And I'll just go through what you will see in OneDrive. me cancel that. So what will happen is under your File Explorer here, you'll see a OneDrive University of Missouri. Let me just close this one so you don't get confused, and I'll open that up. I'm going to go down to one of my folders, just my training folder, we'll say. And here I see my documents, and here's the status emblem that I was talking about, these status symbols. The one with the cloud means it's only available in the cloud. But let's say that's available in the cloud and I have internet connection. As soon as I double click on that, what it's going to do is going to I opened it, it opens up, but it downloads it and it creates a sync. So now it changes that cloud to a green check mark. See that? So now it's available. I can travel now with that internet connection and I'll be able to work on it. It'll sync back. But the ones that are just a cloud, I have to have internet connection. So let's say that now I'm going to go on a trip and I want to make sure that this file is always available to me. So I want to make it always available on this device. What I would do is select it, right click on it, and there's an option here that says always keep on this device. Okay, so I'll select that and it's going to make that that dark green check mark. Okay, and I can also do this. Let me back up one level so you can see that at a folder level. Excel forms. I can also highlight a whole folder and do the same thing. Okay, always keep a whole folder. So if you're traveling, you have a PowerPoint and some other things all in one folder, you can do that at a folder level. Okay. Let me go back to the training folder. Here it shows me that folder is in the cloud because one of the folders or files inside it is in the cloud. If I change that, that'll change the availability, the status of that training folder. Okay, so now let's say while we're on statuses, let's say that I start to fill up my space on my hard drive. Again, the ones with the green check mark will automatically be moved back. The ones in dark green circle with a white check mark, I have to manually put back in the cloud. And to do that, I simply highlight the file or folder like I did before. But this time when I right click on it, there's an option here that says free up space. I select that and it's going to put that back in the cloud for me. But you'll have to manually do that if you have it as a dark green. Okay, some of the other options in there. Let me just look and see what else is in here. If I right click, this is also, while I'm here, this is also where, again, always keep. I can also find the version history of the file without opening it up. So if I say version history of this PowerPoint file, it'll show all the version histories right here of that PowerPoint file. So you can do that outside the application, and I'll show you how you do it from inside the application. You can also, from here, I can share my file. So if I say I want to share this with you all, I'll right click, select share. And here it says people you specify can view the file. So I just type somebody's email address in here. I can type a message and send it to them. This pencil with the arrow through it means it's a view only. I can drop that down and it'll tell me that this is view, this is edit, and this means the link setting. So if I send them the link, anybody with this link has access. So if I make this edit, this says people you specify can edit. So it's telling you what you're selecting. And again, I can type in somebody's name, which is in university. I'm going to pick on Jim here. If I pick on Jim Meyer, it'll find Jim, and then I can just select that. If I know his email address, I can put that in, especially if it's an external, right? I can do a Gmail or what else, Yahoo or Hotmail. I can, or even another university. I can share that file with any of them, with any of those people. Okay, and what it does is it sends them a link to this location. And the nice thing about it is, by doing it this way, all I have to do is share it and share the email with them, and OneDrive will set up all the permissions to that. And you'll know that it's shared. You see this little person, maybe this person beside the status? Those show me that those files, I have 4 of them in here that are being shared. Now it doesn't show me right here who it's shared with, but I know it's being shared. And to find out who it's shared with, I'll select that file. I'll go back to sharing. And what I will do here is the 3 dots again. It will, it always means more options. So if I select that, it says manage access. And now this will tell me that, hey, Tammy Browning has access to edit and Don has access to edit. And I can always change those. So if I can select that and say, okay, now Don, I want Tammy to only to view it, or I want to stop sharing completely with Tammy. Okay. So it shows you you have to dig down to see who's got access. And you can do all that within your file explorer. Okay. You can do more within the cloud, and I will show you that. Let me look at this and see if there's anything else within here. So I'm going to go out to the cloud now, and I'm going to look at this training folder in the cloud. So there's a lot of ways you can get to the cloud version. Again, you can right click on OneDrive and say view online, and you can do the same thing from here. The best way to do it, I think, I always tell people just to open up your web browser. And this is because say you're on somebody else's computer, say a family member's computer, you're traveling. Oh, sorry, I have a chat here. Let me see what this says. Yeah. What's the difference between, yeah, Carol asked, what's the difference between available on this device and always available? So available on this device means that it is, the only difference is between those two is as you start filling up your hard drive space, if I have it as available, the smart storage will automatically move it back to the cloud for me. If it's always available, so if it's that dark green, that means I have to manually move it back to the cloud. Okay, so that's the only difference. So if you have a lot of hard drive space, it's not that much difference, but as you start using OneDrive more, you'll start to fill up, as you open up files, especially large files, you'll start to fill up your hard drive because you get a lot more storage in the cloud than you do on your computer. So that storage sense will move it back to these available on your computer. It'll move it back to the cloud for you. But if you start filling up your hard drive and you still having trouble, check for those that are always available and then move them back to the cloud. Okay, it's a good question. So to look, did I answer your question, Carol? Okay, so let's go online. And I always tell people to go to your web browser and go to office.com. That's the easiest way to get to everything in M365. A lot of times they'll have you log in, but I'm in here a lot. So you might have to do your username at System. So from Office 365, and I will mention this, even if you have your own personal computer at home or laptop, as a university employee, you can install Office M365 on your personal device because you have a license for it. And that'll stay active until you're no longer an employee. So you can install that on your home computer. But from this Office 365, you can get to, on the web, you can get to Word, Excel, all of those. You can get to Teams here. But the one we're talking about today is OneDrive. So I'm going to click on OneDrive, and this is actually where all your data is saved. On your desktop or laptop, it's just looking here to get your data, okay? But as you notice, here are my files. So these are all of my files on OneDrive. From here, there's a new option. I mean, it says new, and I could create new folders and then structure, put my data into folders to keep it structured. I can create Word, PowerPoint, and some other selections there. Also, if I select, let's say if I select budget, if I select this folder, more options will pop up because I've got a folder or a file selected. From here, I can share this folder, okay? A new feature they just added, I think it was not even a month ago. Let's say that I want people to drop evaluations. I'm going to select that. I want people to drop evaluations into this folder, that I've sent out evaluations, and I'm like, I want you all to drop your results in here. Request files. So now there's a request files option. So if I click on that, I can enter the name of the people, name for the request. So all they'll be able to do is to drop, they'll get a link and they drop files into that link. They won't see what's in the folder, and once they drop it in there, they won't see their files. So they don't see any files. They'll have a drop link, and that's all they'll see, which is a nice feature because a lot of people like, well, how can we request files? Well, now they have a request files. You select the folder you want it to go and request the files. Okay. Even for outside people as well. Oops. Of course, you can download, you can rename, you can kind of see some of those. You can move a folder to another, maybe make it a subfolder of another folder by doing that. So, but and let me just go through this this menu here. That's under My Files, under Recent. So under Recent, these, let's say you're working on files, whether it be in OneDrive or in Teams. You're like, where was that file at that I worked on yesterday and is buried in Teams somewhere? Well, here it shows all your recent files, whether they be on OneDrive, and here you can see a lot of them on, this is on OneDrive, but there's some down here that's on Teams. Here's some Teams chat files. So it'll show all your documents you worked on. That's under Recent. Now under Shared, and let me know if you guys don't see this, because we've had some instances where people don't see anything under some of these selections here. So under Shared, now this is a place shared with you, so I can easily find all the files that are shared with me. So somebody shared a file with me and I might go through, look under again Teams or under OneDrive and I can't find them. Here's all the files that are shared with me and some that I've worked on. Okay. Now here's all the ones that are shared by me with other people. I just hit the tab at the top. It's also showed who's been, who's actively working on them. Okay. So again, that's under Shared. And again, under OneDrive, if you can't find something you deleted and you need to get it back, if you come to the cloud, it's in that recycle bin. Okay. Here's a recycle bin and it shows, let's say I want this document back. I select it, and when I restore it, puts it back to the original location. And here it shows me where it's being stored. It was under the documents, under that training folder. So it'll put it back into the original location. Okay. The other
Greg,
sorry, go ahead.
Just quick, how long does it keep files in that recycle bin?
Yeah, that's a good Jim, I'm glad you asked me that. It was kind of an odd number, like 97 days or something like that. So it does save it back for a while. Oh, you know what? Let me see recycle. Let me just look at mine. So I don't know what today is, but this one's May 18th. This is, I think it is about 97 days. Because that's 90 days there. Isn't today the 19th? 3 months ago? Okay, so maybe it's 90 days. I know 90, we'll just round off to 90. So it'd be about 3 months worth.
Okay, so a pretty long time then.
Pretty long time. But now that Jim's asked that question, let me just show you under, and this is the last thing I was going to mention as far as the menu items. Under the settings, so the gearbox is your settings. Here's restore your OneDrive. And this is where I was saying these viruses or somebody hacked in and messed up all your files, or you lost your files. You no longer have to go to your IT department. You can just say restore files, and you'll select a date. I always tell people to drop that down and say custom date and time. It's easier to work from this because it gives you a visual of files that's changed from 0 to 29, which is 30 days. So this is today, back 29 days ago. So let's say back 22 days ago, on the 21st day, there was a lot of files changed. So that might have been a virus that changed my files, right? I can just scroll this back, and even if I scroll to 10 days, it'll show me all the files that changed 10 days ago up to today. But I go back to 21 days ago, and now if I select this file right here, it'll do all the files from then forward. And then I can say restore all those files. hopefully you don't have to use this much, and you might check with your IT support if you see a lot of files, and you guys might work on this together, because it will change all your files back to this date. Okay. And like I said, that'd probably be used if there was a ransomware, where they say, we've changed your files and now you have to submit $10,000 or whatever it is. You can save that money and just do it yourself. I'm going to stop restoring. I don't want that to restore. Okay. So that's kind of an outline of what it looks like within here, but let me just touch on what you can do within here. Okay. So here again is, I will say evaluations. I'm just going to pick on one of them. So you can do sharing here, right? I can also share with this little button. And if I click the three dots, which is always more options, I can share here. But what I can also do, I can also, of course, like you did, here's the request files. I can manage access. Here it says it's a private one. Here's one that's shared. So I'm gonna change my mind here. I'm gonna go to this share, because it tells me, it doesn't have that little person. It tells me who's sharing that. So I'm gonna go to, that's being shared. I'm gonna go to manage access here. And here it says links giving access. So I need to drop that down. So that's saying that this particular folder is being shared with somebody through a link. It is no direct access. So I'm not sharing it saying you have access and you have access to Rand University. I can drop that down and saying, okay, these two people have access because they have this link. And again, I can remove them. Okay. So, and I didn't know that until I went in and said manage access. Okay. But I will show you, let's say that I want to share the evaluations and the digital signage. If I select more than one, I no longer have that share button here. And if I click this button, three dots, I no longer have access here. I have to use this shared button here to do it. I'm not sure why they have it that way, but just know that if you select more than one, you have to share this method to say there's more than one. Now, I guess it's because they want to make sure that you want to share multiple things. They don't want you to accidentally select two things and just hit the share button, right? But here it's saying who those are being who I'll be sharing those with. Okay. Let me see what else I want to go over now. Oh, what I want to go over now, let me just, any questions while I was in there? I can go back in. Is there any questions about the web interface? I showed this on one of the trainings that some of y'all were probably in before, but let's just say around the university, the best way I believe to share a document is not to share it within here. I always tell people if they're using Teams, to share your document within Teams. So what I would do in Teams, if I share a document and I select the Teams button, it shares it with the whole team. But if I want to give rights to people at the university to a document, I just do it within a chat. So I just start a chat message. If you're not familiar with Teams, I'd select chat, hit this button here, and now I type in the people I want to share a document with. So the people I see on this is Jennifer. I'm just going to pick on the ones that have their cameras on, Carol, and Jim. So I want to share a document. Oops. I want to share a document to three of you all. Okay. And I'm going to come down here and I'm going to say, here's the document. Now, I could just select it. Well, I can select it here, and I'll show you both methods. If it's already on OneDrive, I can say, okay, I'm going to find the file on OneDrive. If it's not on OneDrive, then I can say upload it from my computer. When I do that, if I say upload from my computer, what it does, you see this folder that says Microsoft Teams chat files. It will automatically put it in this location and do the sharing for you. Okay. Or I could put the file in OneDrive ahead of time and put it under whatever folder I want. Okay, but just know if it's not in Teams, it'll put it in here. And if this is a first file, it'll create this folder for you. I don't have to create this folder. It does everything for me. Okay, so I'm going, excuse me, I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to share a file that's on OneDrive. And so it'll go out to OneDrive for me. I'm going to find a file here that I can send. I'm not sure what this is. Looks like some bogus file. So I'm going to share that document with you, and then I'm going to hit send. Okay. What that'll do, you all can open it from there, or it also will place it in the file section. And the reason I showed you that method, you could do it that way, or I can just drag and go to Files tab, and I can drag and drop files right in there to share it with you all. So it doesn't matter which method you use. Okay, that's the easiest. I think that's a better way of doing it, because now what I can do, I can chat and we can collaborate here on about the file that we've shared, or the three of us might collaborate. Okay, but again, you could come back here again in OneDrive and find that same file, which I probably won't find. It was under the root. And I can always go to, here's a demo doc. I can always go here, right click and share that document, and then type your all's names in there as well. But I like doing it from here. It's just easier, and we can collaborate on the file. But if I go back, let's see if I can find that document. Sample.
Greg,
Yes.
quick question here, matter
Yep.
of distinction. If you go in and share it like you just did through Teams,
Mhm.
and you've specified that, say there was 3 or 4 of us, that'll just share it with the 3 or 4 of us. But you said it also gets puts in the file, but does that make it under files? Does that make it where everybody that's in, like say let's say there's 20 people in that team. Do only the 4 people under files and teams see that file, or does everybody see it?
That's good questions. And so if I do it within a chat, only the people in that chat can see it.
Okay.
Also, when I upload that, the difference in those, and I'm glad you asked that question. The difference between here, putting a file here, and putting a file here is this is only seen by these people, and it's still on my OneDrive. So it counts against my quota. If I put it in Teams, everybody that has access to that team or that location can see it, and it goes on to the SharePoint, the team storage location. So it doesn't count against my quota. So if I upload a file here from my OneDrive, it's still on my OneDrive and it's in the team. But if we work on it within Teams, it's working on that one, and I still have the original. Okay, so that's a good question.
Is there a, like, when you do it through chat, is there a default sharing permissions that it gives? Because like when you do it through OneDrive, you can say,
Yeah,
like, they can view only, or
yeah, that's a good question. So as soon as I drop it in here, everybody has added access to it.
okay.
Yeah. So if you only, yeah, and I had never thought about that. If you want to give people just view access, then you want to do it through here. As soon as I drop it into a chat, everybody can collaborate on that file. And that was the next thing I was going to show you. But also, I just want to show you what was the name of that file. Sample something. Okay, that's at the root. But what it does, it'll show you that that file is being shared on your OneDrive. Here, this one here. As soon as, well, it should show you that that's being shared because it's in, maybe that hasn't refreshed. Is it under files? Oh, hang on a second. We ran into this.
A copy of it?
Well, we ran into this yesterday.
Okay.
So no, it's the same one, but we have to open that file because right now it's not. Oh, here it comes. Okay, it takes a little while. So if you guys want, I don't know if you guys have Teams or you can do it within OneDrive, but you should see that file and you should be able to open it.
See it under the Teams
under
chat?
Under the chat.
Yeah.
I don't know what this is.
Yeah, I already opened it, but I
Yeah.
wasn't sure if you were saying in the Explorer window or in the.
Yeah, let me, 15 minutes. I have another meeting here in training. Okay, so it should show you. Let me click back and forth. Essay. Yeah. So here it shows that it's being shared. Okay. So you guys will have to access it through the chat. If I'd have sent it to you the other method, you would have received an email. Okay. And that's the difference on how you receive it as well. But if everybody's using Teams, it's just cleaner in Teams in the chat because you can collaborate. But if it's somebody that doesn't use Teams, then yes, you'll want to do it this method. I can also select that, open it up, and I can, if I hit share, that's being shared, I can copy that link and then send that to you. Okay.
Well, that's good to know because I've dropped files in there before, sharing a file with someone so they could, just use it and do whatever they needed to do with it, not necessarily for us to collaborate. So it sounds like that if you do it that way, then if I make changes to this document now, it will show in your drive that way, right?
It will. Yeah, it will.
Okay, so we might not want to share files that way if we're just like giving somebody a, hey, here's a template for you to use, because then they could be changing
your document
data.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. I did
Yeah.
not ever realize that.
Yeah, so if you want to share a view only, then do it within OneDrive. If you want to collaborate with people on a document, and everybody's using Teams, it's simpler to start it and just drag and drop, because then again you can collaborate. Everybody has full access. And what I was going to show you is if you guys would open up that document, whoever has Teams available, I just want to show you the collaboration. And then here, I see that somebody's already in here, so you can just, I don't know what this document is, just feel free to put some enters in there and type stuff at the top. So we can all collaborate. That's me typing. In fact, I'll just type Greg so you know it's me. And I see MJ down here, which is Jim. So we can all collaborate at the same time. And one thing I want to show you, I'll say there's an option here to open in the desktop app. So you can do a lot of stuff in the web or in Teams interface, but if I go to the desktop app, it's going to open up my Word document. Yeah. Oh, it put it on the other, sorry, put it on the other screen. So you all could still be working in that. And because it's on OneDrive or SharePoint, you'll see if you have M3 Office 365, this autosave is automatically turned on by default. So it's automatically saving the document for me as we type. And because it's doing that, where it has the file name, it says saving, I can drop that down and I can go to version history. And I can go back to a previous version right here. Okay. So here again, since it's on OneDrive, you all could be on Teams and then the same document typing. I could be on my desktop client pointing at the same document. I can see all the changes happening because I can see here that Jim's in it right here. Okay. And again, I can go back to previous versions. So this is what I mean by you can collaborate on the same document at the same time because it's stored on OneDrive. You can control your sharing.
I did not realize that you sharing files there shares your file. That's very good to know.
Yeah,
because I've definitely just dragged stuff over when people said, "Hey, can you tell me how you in this department how you are doing things?" And I've just dragged things in there. It's the same thing with the attach down here.
Oh,
it doesn't attach like a copy of it if you do upload from my computer.
Right. If it uploads it, it'll put it into that Teams location on your OneDrive, and then it does the share. Martha said she can't see it. You weren't in the chat, Martha, but I'm glad you asked that. Let's say I'm in a chat and I now want to add Martha to it. Here it shows me over here who all's in the chat, this little, and now we're kind of a little in the Teams, but that's okay. We want to know how this works. I can hit this plus and it says, okay, this is who's in our chat. I can add people to the chat. And when I do, I'm going to add Martha. This is Martha here. Now I can say we've been chatting about this file, or within our group. It's called a chat group. If I add Martha, I can say, let's not include the chat history. I don't want Martha to see all of our conversation. I can say, okay, she can see from the last number of days. You can specify the days, or I say, to keep her up to speed, I want to include all the chat history. So I'm going to add Martha and give her all the chat history. So now it added her to that share, and the share, of course, like you said, is an edit access to that file. And since this is getting long here, I'll just mention one more thing in Teams. It's getting long, and here it says Jennifer and 4 others. I can say, here's a pencil. Let's give our chat group actually a decent name. And this is our OneDrive training group. Okay. Now I'm going to save that name. Now it says, okay, this is the name of our group. And if it's somebody that I want to collaborate with, I can, pin it up here, and then I can move it around, where I can find them. Okay. So now our group has that name, and we can all collaborate, and we can see, we can pass around files. So this is good for, again, it's against my quota. It's on mine. So this is good if you're preparing a document that you want to eventually get into Teams, or it's a short-term collaboration. It's not going to be a long-term, because I don't want, if I leave, that's on my OneDrive, but it's more like a temporary storage. But if you want a long-term storage, you'll want to create a team or place this in your department or your group team. And I can simply do that by copying this or move this to my team. You can also, of course, download it. You can open it into a team. Okay. Okay. So we got a little bit into Teams, but I want to show you that is if you're collaborating within the university, this is an easy way to, but it has to be a collaboration, as Carol mentioned, because they can edit that document. But if you want somebody just to have read access, then you'll have to do it from within here. And you'll probably specify the first group would have, everybody who wants read access, send that share out first, and then maybe the next share specify who has edit access. But
could you show how to do a share from this Explorer? Because it didn't seem very easy to do that, and maybe I just was doing it wrong.
So let's say that you want to share this sample. I don't know what that is. I can right click on it and go to share. And it'll come up like this. This will send a link to you all.
Oh, so that's not what came up when I was.
Oh, sorry.
I probably clicked the wrong thing. That's why I was.
Yeah, and here you can type a little message. So let's say, Carol, I'm gonna put you in here. Oops, let's get your R in there. And this will search the university address book, the M365. Mm-hmm. So let's say, oh, Jim, I got to put your last name because I work a lot at the vet school with people. There's Jim Meyer. And this time, Martha's going to get it. Martha Alert. Here you are. Okay, so here, these are people that can view it. So it has all 3 of you, and I can change that to say, oh, and I didn't show you this. Anyone with the link. So if I can get a link, send it out. Anybody with this link will have access. I can say, restrict that to only people with the link and they have to be at the University of Missouri. Okay. And I can also say people with existing access, so I'll give them rights, or specific people's what I have now. Also, I can say by default, let's say everybody at the university, if they have the link, right now they have view access. I can say I can allow them to edit, but let's say if they have view access, I want them to view it. I can also block download. So I'm going to send out a PowerPoint. They can look at it, but they can't download my PowerPoint. Okay. So I can also block that. So if I do that, it'll say everybody with the link. Let me apply that. And then what I would do, now it just says everybody with a link. And I can give a message and I can copy the link and I can post that link maybe on a website or within a class or however you want to send it out. Or I can copy that link and I can put the link. Here's my link. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to put it in the email to a list of people. And I don't care who gets it because now everybody that has the link has to be within the University of Missouri. So see, it says only people in the University of Missouri can view it. I block download. I copy it. I post it somewhere in it or send it out in an email. So I'm glad you asked that. I failed to mention that you could, within that share, you drop this down and you can get more options, more control. So it's not just view, and you can type a short message.
I have a folder that that I was sharing and one that is shown as shared that I don't know why it would be. So I was trying to do the right click options to find who had access. So when you go down to this give access to, is that something different? Like,
yeah,
because it
has
a remove access, but it was something very strange coming up. Like I didn't know how to.
So you have one like this where
with it.
Sorry, you have one like this where you have a folder with a share. Is that right?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. It said that it was shared, and I was like, why would that be shared?
Yeah. So if you right click, right, and you go to sharing, if you want to see who has it, you want to go up here to the three dots and say manage access.
Okay.
Because you want to see who's got access and why. Here it shows me there's no direct access to the university, but these people have access by a link. So I can drop that down and then I can figure out who's got it and whether or not I want to remove their access.
Okay. Oh, I see. I think this other thing was to give them network access. That give access to thing in the right.
Okay.
That helps. Yeah, that makes more sense now.
Yeah, if you
I can see who has access to this.
Yeah, now you can see who's got access, and you can say they shouldn't have. You can remove them or reduce their access if they have edit. You can reduce it to view, or you can just stop sharing it with them.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I see we're about out of time. I'm going to go ahead and stop recording because I want to respect your all's time here.